The truth is, you could plug in your Peterson StroboStomp HD and use it right out of the box, as I initially did for over a year. But if you don't go onto Peterson's website and unlock some of the hidden features, you're missing out on like 90% of the fun stuff you can do with this tuning pedal. I'm talking about custom configurations, sweetened tunings, and user-shared presets from the User Trading Post. The catch, you do have to register your pedal and get a specific USB cable that is not included with the tuner. I've already done all that, so in this video I'll walk you through exactly how to unlock all the setup features hiding in plain sight. So let's get to it. Now, when I first went to install some presets I was interested in, I didn't even know that I had to register the pedal first, and it took me a good 20 minutes just to dig up my receipt. Then I grabbed the wrong type of USB cable, so I've pretty much hit all the roadblocks already, and now I'm going to help you skip that part. Alright, so now we'll head over to petersontuners.com, and I'm going to go to the Tools tab up top here and select Peterson Connect. And you will need to pay attention to what, be aware what browser you're using. It does matter. I like Firefox, but Peterson Connect only works with Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Opera, Brave, and Vivaldi, as it says right here. So you don't have to remember that stuff, just be aware of it. And then if you notice also in this box here, it says in the middle, no device detected. That's because I haven't connected my tuner just yet. And then there's this button down here that says Find Device. Now below that, I'm going to scroll down the screen just a little. We've got the main options. You can register your product, which you will have to do initially. Configure your products, design custom sweeteners, and then over here is the User Trading Post. First, you will need to connect your pedal to your computer with an appropriate USB cable, and this is not included. Now, I can't tell you specifically which one to get because I don't know what USB connections your computer has. The end that connects to the tuner, though, is what is called USB micro, and it has to be capable of data communication. Some cables are only for charging. I don't know if you'll be able to see this very good, but anyway, the USB micro looks very similar to USB mini, and just for fun, the names aren't drastically different either, so pay attention. USB mini will not work. It's a little bulkier and it's not exactly the same shape. You can take my word for it, it won't fit. And then the connections in the top of the pedal, right between the two power jacks there. One is for power in, and then the other one you can actually power other pedals. Okay, so mine is registered, so it pops up right here with the name StroboStomp HD is connected. So once you are connected and registered, you can and probably should verify that your firmware is the latest and greatest. And then we can move on to the fun stuff inside Peterson Connect, specifically the User Trading Post. I'm going to mine should be fine. I mean, I've been messing with this thing constantly over the last couple days, but just for fun, I'll click check updates here. Mine's synchronized and up to date. Cool. Now you can also do some basic configuration options on screen here for your default configuration, which is more efficient than trying to navigate with the tuner's buttons like I kind of showed in a previous video. I will say though that it's very limited, and I'll cover it quickly in a moment. But this Peterson Connect tool is mainly geared towards setting up your custom configuration, which is really what you should do anyway if you want to get the most out of this tuner, and that's what the focus of this video is. In fact, to add your own custom presets, a custom user configuration has to be created, but that'll happen automatically as soon as you select a custom sweetened tuning that you want to add to your tuner. And then all the adjustable parameters will be visible at once on the computer screen as opposed to editing directly on the pedal, which quite honestly can be a little cumbersome. Hey, by the way, if you're just getting into these custom sweetened tunings, I got a free collection of Van Halen riffs and licks that are perfect for testing out these new presets. Just comment tabs down below and I'll hook you up with that. Now before I add any custom sweetened tunings, I will quickly show what edits can be done inside the default configuration. in case for some reason that's all the further you want to go with this. I have reset my tuner. Let me just make sure I don't want to say anything that's untrue. All right, I'm going to reset it to factory configuration now. I thought I already did that, but I'll just do it real quick here now. Okay. Now these edits to your out-of-the-box configuration can all be done without connecting to the website here if you didn't want to add any custom presets. But like I said, in my opinion, it's just way easier to do whatever editing you can here in this online app as opposed to going through the buttons on the pedal. So even if you're not going to add any presets, I would still do as much as you can right here. And about all you really can do is click this Quick Configure. And what this allows you to do is you can unselect any group of these that you don't want to show up on your pedal when you have it plugged in and in use. That way, because there's so many things on here, to cycle through them all when you're looking for something specific, if you don't need the stuff, would like be crazy. So for example, I'm going to change mine to show only the default, which is the equal temperament, EQU, and then I'll leave the group guitar and bass on. So I'm just going to uncheck all these other things. And then I'm going to change the color on guitar and bass. Now to change colors, you just click on this square and cycle through the colors. Every click goes through the 10 different options. So I'm going to make it be red. And then click Save and Update. If you are finding this walkthrough helpful and you're thinking about picking up a Peterson StroboStomp for yourself, I've got an affiliate link in the description. Same price for you, and it does help support my channel, so I'd appreciate it. Okay, now let's head over to the Trading Post and really personalize this pedal. So click down there, and we want to go to Shared User Sweeteners, Guitar and Bass, not these uncategorized ones. Guitar and bass right here. Currently, as of this recording, there's 191 options. From here, you can browse all the different presets, and they are identified by these 3-letter codes. So if you click on the circle with the letter I in it, it'll open up and expand with more info, and typically it'll at least show the artist and the tuning it's based on. This one gives the artist and the title. It's Running with the Devil from the first Van Halen album. Hey, if this isn't your first rodeo, if you've used the User Trading Post before, do you have a favorite preset? Just let me know down in the comments. There's tons of Van Halen settings in here. In fact, I'd be willing to bet they have the most out of any artist, and there's a couple others. James Taylor and Joni Mitchell seem to have a few. But I'm here for the Van Halen stuff, in case you hadn't guessed. And if it says by Alan Garber, it's probably a Van Halen preset. He has a few others in here, but most of them are Van Halen, and he's pretty meticulous about it, so I trust his work. And there's also a great post of his in a forum on VH Links, and I have that linked in the description as well. Okay, so before we go any further, if you don't know what a sweetened tuning is, it's basically micro adjustments to the pitches of your strings to optimize the overall sound of your guitar. Conventional tuning is based on equal temperament, so like that EQU default setting that I kept checkmarked when I showed you that quick configure thing. And basically equal temperament means that it's perfectly equal divisions between the semitones and equal intervals between the strings, except of course the G and the B. So more specifically what I'm driving at is a semitone, which is 1 fret on your guitar, is itself is comprised of 100 cents. So imagine like if each fret had 100 smaller like subdivision frets inside, if you can possibly imagine that. The Peterson strobe tuners take it even farther than that because these can dial in 1/10 of a cent. So in other words, like 1,000 subdivisions for each semitone. That's how accurate this pedal can get. So with 12 unique tones in the chromatic scale, what that really means is we have 1,200 cents in each octave. And if we go into the intervals of the strings that we're accustomed to, your perfect fourths are all going to have 500 cents, and your major third will have 400 cents. That's with equal tempered tuning. Sweetened tuning makes little compromises on this by adjusting some strings by, a few cents here and there. And what this does is it causes the guitar to sound better and more consistent across the fretboard, because some intervals can tend to sound a little bit harsh, especially in rock music. Those thirds can kind of produce an unpleasant beat, especially when you get distortion involved and stuff like that. So now that we've got an understanding of what the sweetened tuning is, maybe you can see a little bit better why we'd want to add these presets to our tuner. All right, now once you find a preset you want to add, you can add it a couple ways. You can click this little plus icon next to it, just make sure you get the right one. Well, on the ones on the left it's obvious, but if you wanted this EURU, you'd make sure you push the one to the right, because the one over here is for the one on the left. But whatever. Or you can just click add to my tuner here, and then the plus button is right here again too. So you basically got three options, 2 pluses and some text. Now as soon as you do this, if it's your first one, this will create by default a brand new user configuration. It's going to name it USR. That's automatic. You don't have to do anything. And you can't add these to the default configuration. That's just not possible. But honestly, once you start creating your own configuration, I don't even know why you'd use the default one, because you can include any of the preloaded tunings that you want to use into your user one. Like those ones I saved earlier, I'll probably just take the few that I actually care about, and I'm just going to put them on my own user configuration on my pedal. You can basically add as many of these as you want, and you can customize them however you see fit. They will all live in your user configuration, so you can do whatever you want. You can change the display colors, the accidental display, meaning whether it shows the notes as sharps or flats. You can change the visibility of presets, all of it, right from this app here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pick this RWD. I'm not going to go through this and do all of my presets. I won't make you suffer through that. I'll just do the one so you can see. And then it asks which one of your devices. So I'll pick on it. It's the only option there, obviously. I've got one thing plugged in. And now it says updates to my tuner configuration. Name has been changed from QCF. Oh, because I had that quick configure. That must have renamed it before. I didn't even realize that. And it just added my one sweetener. Okay, so I'm going to update. And then I'm just going to go over to the configure settings. I'll keep adding the rest of my stuff later. You get the idea. That's how you track them down and add them. Okay, and now here's my new one that I just added. And you can see it's got all these other ones in here, which is a little bit weird. I could have swore I unselected a bunch of these. Oh no, my mistake. These all lived within that guitar and bass category. Okay, we're cool. So settings to a specific preset now can be changed. If I hover the cursor in the row, the options that are available pop up on the right in this little context menu. And the options are, I can add a default copy, which means it'll just copy this preset without any changes that I might make to it. I can change the preset color with this little palette thing. I can edit the preset, and I'll just click in here. The options are basically, I can change the concert A reference pitch, or I can add a transposition to it, which is like the capo/drop tuning setting. And I went into more detail in one of my other videos about all this. So I'm going to X out of that because I don't want to do any of that stuff. I'm not really going to alter my presets. Maybe I'll change the colors at some point, and then the last option with the thread X, you can remove it if you want to. Now, settings that would apply globally to your configuration are all the ones that are outside of this box, this sweetener presets box. So anything inside with the little hovering menu, those will all just apply to that particular preset. These other ones on the outside, these would apply to your overall configuration. So for example, for me, by default, the pedal shows accidentals as sharps, and I don't really think that way when I'm tuning. I always am thinking in flats, like E flat. So I am going to change mine to flats because that always bugs me a little bit. I know my enharmonics, but I don't prefer to not have to think about it. And then this, you can turn the octave number on or off. So like your open A string is A2, for instance, but I don't see any need to do that. I think it's pretty obvious. If you try to tune it to A3, you're probably going to break a string, and if you tune it to A1, you're going to have so much slack you won't get any sound. So I don't really see the benefit of turning that on. Auto reorder, I'm going to leave that. It makes the most used presets show up at the top of your list as you cycle through them. Quick note on display colors. When you're in your user configuration, I'm going to show you something cool. You have the 10 built-ins, these 9 plus the default orange. But when you're in your own custom configuration, you can add this little plus button, and you can pick any color on this wheel, and you can change its opacity or darkness, whatever you call that, I don't know. But you can add up to 5 more of your own custom colors. So just wanted to point that out. All right, so there you have it. Using the Peterson Connect really unleashes the power of this amazing tuning pedal. I've also got a couple other videos where I demo 2 of the Van Halen presets as well as one of the factory sweetened tuning presets. If this video helped you unlock more from your Peterson StroboStomp, hit that like button. It helps get this in front of more players. And if you want to see one of these presets in action, check out my Van Halen tuning walkthrough. It's linked right here. I'll see you over there.